In the dimly lit confines of the Drunken Fate, a tavern steeped in the moribund atmosphere of Fate Falls, a gathering of souls sought refuge from the encroaching shadows that loomed over the town. The establishment, though showing the wear of uncounted years, still bore the marks of a time when revelry thrived amidst the whispers of dread. It was here that they encountered Liana, an enigmatic figure, her beauty now marred by the ravages of time and the harshness of existence. She moved with a grace that belied her rough exterior, pouring drinks like a priestess of some forgotten rite. Among the party was a man named Crow, whose countenance bore the weariness of one who had seen too much. Liana, with an intensity that pierced the veil of joviality, served him an entire bottle of whiskey, her voice low and trembling as she recounted the grim fate that had befallen the town, a fate that had claimed the Smith family in a sordid tableau of horror. The father, a once proud figure, had dangled grotesquely from the porch, an offering to some nameless horror that lurked in the woods. The mother and son had met a similar end, their lives snuffed out, as if they were mere candles before an insatiable wind. The tale twisted and turned, revealing the fate of the Smith daughter, a wretched disappearance marked by drag marks that led into the darkened woods, only to vanish into an abyss of uncertainty. Liana's voice faltered, her agitation rising at the mention of magic, as if the very word conjured the specters of the past. She directed the party to seek out the ancient librarian Linda Sue at the town's library, and advised them to consult the motel's resident, the brother of the deceased matriarch, as well as the Crabtrees, whose children had once shared laughter with the lost girl. As the party exchanged furtive glances, the weight of the tale pressed upon them, and Buzz, a figure of resolute determination, urged them to remain united in their quest. They departed into the night, the tavern's door creaking ominously behind them, a portal to the unknown. With each step toward the library, the air thickened with foreboding, as if the very shadows conspired to keep their secrets hidden. Little did they know, Fate Falls was not merely a town, but a locus of dark energies that thrummed beneath the surface, waiting for the unwary to trespass into realms best left undisturbed. In the oppressive gloom of the library, where dust motes danced like lost souls in the flickering light, the party met Linda Sue, the elderly librarian whose frail appearance belied the weight of secrets she cradled within her bosom. The shelves loomed like ancient sentinels, filled with tomes that seemed to whisper forbidden knowledge. Leon, masquerading as an investigator from some shadowy agency, initiated his inquiries into the cold and lingering specter of the Smith murders, his voice echoing with an unsettling urgency amidst the silence. The others, drawn into the web of inquiry, listened intently as Linda Sue recounted the events of that fateful night, the night of the Smith daughter's ill-fated birthday celebration. Most of the townsfolk, she revealed, had attended the gathering, including Liana, whose earlier denials now hung heavy in the air. Mary Sue, a keen observer of the human condition, postulated a grim theory. Liana's evasions might be rooted in a clandestine affair with Mr. Smith, a notion that sent a shiver through the gathered party, as if the very walls were eavesdropping on their discourse. The librarian then recounted a peculiar incident involving the mother's brother, whose erratic behavior over a birthday cake had sparked an uproar, though the cause of his distress remained shrouded in mystery. A tension crept into the room, thickening the air as the party exchanged uneasy glances, feeling as though the library itself were a living entity, absorbing their fears and questions. But it was the mention of a shadowy figure that sent a chill down their spines, a strange man, amorphous and shrouded in darkness, who had lingered at the party like a malignant wraith. Linda Sue claimed that this figure continued to haunt the vicinity of the Smith residence, lurking ominously as children played in the park nearby, a predator cloaked in the guise of innocence. The implication was clear. Some malevolent force had taken root in Fate Falls, entwining itself with the lives of its inhabitants like a serpent coiling around its prey. As the party absorbed this unsettling information, an acute sense of dread enveloped them, as if the very fabric of reality were fraying at the edges. The library, with its tomes of forgotten lore and the specter of Linda Sue's revelations, felt less a sanctuary and more a portal to an abyss of hidden horrors. What dark truths lay buried beneath the veneer of this quaint town, and what fate awaited those who dared to seek them? The answers danced just beyond the reach of their understanding, tantalizing yet terrifying, beckoning them deeper into the labyrinth of Fate Falls. From the stifling confines of the library, the party emerged into the twilight that draped Fate Falls in an unsettling pallor. Their path led them toward the motel, where the brother of the late Mrs. Smith awaited. But as they traversed the cracked pavement, an oppressive atmosphere enveloped them, thick with foreboding. It was then that they encountered the Smith residence, an edifice of decay, its once proud structure now crouched in desolation, a testament to the horrors that had transpired within its walls. As they approached, a grotesque figure materialized from the shadows. A being that bore a grotesque semblance to humanity yet was composed entirely of darkness. The creature, which they would come to know as the Shadow Man, loomed ominously, its form shifting and writhing as if it were a living shadow, a manifestation of the very fears that plagued the town. Leon, driven by an insatiable curiosity and the allure of the unknown, stepped closer, with Crow, ever the intrepid companion, following in his wake. The air thickened with tension as the grotesque entity seemed to regard them with a malevolent awareness. Leon's mind raced, and he soon devised a clever spell, a fragile thread of arcane knowledge intended to draw the creature forth from its shrouded lair. The incantation resonated in the air, a whisper of power that stirred the darkened corners of the Smith house. Yet as the Shadow Man responded, its form coalescing into something more tangible, the party hesitated, the weight of uncertainty pressing heavily upon them. What malevolence dwelt within this creature? What dark purpose had it in its shadowy heart? The decision to refrain from confrontation lingered heavily in the air, a choice made in the shadow of ignorance. They understood that knowledge was a weapon as potent as any blade, and thus they chose to observe from the fringes of the encroaching darkness, their hearts pounding with the thrill of impending revelation. As they readied to depart, Crow, perhaps sensing the remnants of human compassion that lingered beneath the creature's shadowy facade, left a bottle of whiskey on the corner of the decrepit house, an offering to the abyss, an act both defiant and mournful. The bottle stood as a solitary sentinel against the encroaching void, a testament to the fleeting joys of life amidst the overwhelming dread that suffocated Fate Falls. With one last glance at the forsaken house and the lurking shadow, the party moved onward, their minds haunted by the specter of the Shadow Man and the grim knowledge that they were inexorably drawn deeper into the web of despair that enveloped the town. The darkness had stirred, and they could feel its gaze upon them, watching, waiting, a malignant presence that hungered for the unwary. What truths lay ahead, buried in the shadows of Fate Falls, awaited their discovery, but at what cost? The motley crew approached the motel, a structure that loomed before them like a tombstone marking some forgotten grave. The air was thick with an oppressive gloom, an unshakable reminder of the horrors that had unfolded within the town of Fate Falls. After a terse exchange with the disinterested clerk at the front desk, each step echoing ominously as if the very ground beneath their feet whispered secrets long buried. Upon reaching the door of Adam, the brother of the ill-fated Mrs. Smith, they encountered an unsettling silence. Their knuckles rapped against the weathered wood, but no response came from within. Driven by a mix of urgency and dread, Leon invoked the spell of knock, the incantation resonating in the stillness like a tolling bell. The door swung open, revealing Adam in a state of palpable panic, his eyes wide with a terror that seemed to cling to him like a shroud. As they entered the dimly lit room, the atmosphere grew thick with unuttered fears and unspoken truths. Adam, trembling and haunted, recounted the dark history that had transpired within the Smith household. He had once dwelt within those cursed walls, where the Shadow Man first appeared. An insidious presence that had followed the Smith girl home after her mother brought her back from the hospital. This creature, a grotesque parody of humanity, had become a source of deep trepidation, the catalyst for the infamous cake incident that lingered in the town's collective memory like a festering wound. But it was the revelation of his sister's dabblings in witchcraft that struck the deepest chord of horror. The very thought of arcane practices intertwining with the shadows that haunted their lives sent a chill through the gathering. As if compelled by some tragic fate, Adam offered the party a pink teddy bear, the last gift he had given his niece, a remnant of innocence now heavy with sorrow and dread. In a moment of compassion, Leon summoned forth his magic, weaving a spell intended to grant Adam a semblance of peace, to ease him into a sleep unmarred by nightmares. Yet, in a twist of destiny that seemed almost orchestrated by the lurking shadows, Crow also succumbed to the enchantment, drifting into an unintentional slumber. The irony of his unintended sleep lingered in the air, a sign of the foreboding that hung over them like a storm cloud. With Crow resting in an uneasy repose, the party faced the inexorable choice to split their paths. Two members would return to the library seeking the mother's tomes, arcane remnants of her dark pursuits, while the other two would venture forth to speak with the Crabtrees, hoping to glean further insights into the mysterious life of the lost girl. As they departed, the weight of fate falls pressed upon them, a shadow that whispered of secrets hidden in the depths of the night. Each step they took resonated with the promise of revelation, yet the air crackled with an undercurrent of dread, a reminder that they were mere mortals treading upon the thin veneer of reality, where the boundaries between the known and the unknowable began to blur ominously. What awaited them in their respective quests was cloaked in uncertainty. But one thing was clear, the darkness was ever watchful, waiting patiently for those who dared to unearth its terrible truths.